first to think that I should pursue something like elected office in Baltimore City. And so I want to thank her for that. And that is a perfect segue to the other reason that we're here tonight. We're here to celebrate Women's History Month and also the 100 years since women gained the right to vote. Now, you got to put an asterisk next to that because the Voting Rights Act wasn't passed until 1965, which is why it's so important that we exercise our right to vote. And not only that, but to vote for Sims if you live in the 7th District. If you don't, to tell everybody else to vote for Sims for councilman for the 7th District. But on a serious note, something that has really impacted me lately is meeting with so many community leaders and knocking on doors and meeting with so many different people and new people. One of the things that has become overwhelmingly apparent is the impact that so many women have had in our communities, the weight of the community that they have carried on their shoulders for generations. And so many of the women I meet are the heads of community associations. They are educators, both retired and still active. And they also, women are the vast majority of voters in Baltimore City, black women in Baltimore City. So it's important that we don't forget that. And I think what's also important is that as we look to move this city forward, that we identify ways in which we can give back and step up to match the commitment and the effort that so many women in this city have put forward. And so when I think about why I'm running for elected office, I think about a number of things. So I think about the uprising in 2015. I think about the underperforming schools and the decisions that we as parents have to make when we decide to send our children to some of the schools in Baltimore City. I think about how so much of the critique and the observations of the city just have a little seasoning or just a dump of racism. And then I think about something a little different. For those of you in here who know me, you know I can be strong-willed, you know I can be hard-headed. And I think that, as a kid, people always said that about me. But I think that now, that has really come full circle. My passion for equity, my passion for fairness and justice has come full circle with my passion for Baltimore City. And doing what people say can't and shouldn't be done. People have told me that we shouldn't raise a family in Baltimore City. When I decided to buy a home in West Baltimore, people told me that I shouldn't do that. When I decided when my wife and I and some of the folks in this room decided to start a nonprofit to give back to the city, people say we shouldn't do that. People say that this city is irredeemable. And I choose to reject that notion. I choose to reject raising my children in West Baltimore. I choose to reject giving back to the city and pursuing and deepening my commitment to my community. And so it's with that passion that my wife and myself and some other friends founded the Greater Baltimore Health Improvement Initiative in 2015, a couple of months after the unrest. And the mission of GBHI was to empower individuals in Baltimore City to give back through education, advocacy, and action. And we did the majority of that work through the schools. And after working with some of the educators and administrators in the schools, speaking to some of the parents, speaking to some of the children, and realizing that all of the needs that they had that were outside of the control of the education system, I realized that we're going to continue to respond and react to so many things that occur in Baltimore City that are systemic if we don't address the policies and the practices that have allowed those things to persist.